Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Asmogan, and today I want to kind of share some do nots or recommended tips to not do certain things in Final Fantasy XIV for new players, my fellow sprouts out there, because I kind of recently had a situation with a friend of mine over on my Discord community who told me that Final Fantasy XIV was the worst MMORPG he's ever experienced and is not a Final Fantasy game. It's just a terrible game, worst game he's ever played, hands down. And I asked him why. You know, I kind of interrogated him a little bit. I was very confused. I was like, that's a pretty tall statement to make. So I asked him, and after talking to him, he did the following things. Which, by the way, this is not throwing shade. This is not. If he watches this, he knows who he is. This is not throwing shade, man. This is a video I am making not to mock you, not to make you feel bad, but to help other new players who might make the same mistakes you did and might hurt their experience and might even make them quit altogether without giving Final Fantasy its proper chance, because this stuff just frustrates them. Because after talking to you, you were very frustrated, and it upset me because I recommended the game to you, and I feel bad when I make my friends have a bad experience and through my innocent recommendations, and it hurts even more when they spend money to experience those bad times. So to help hopefully other people avoid the same issue, let me share these do nots of Final Fantasy XIV. The first one is, and this one might be more controversial out of these ones, is boosting. Now, I will say this, I don't look down on somebody for boosting as a whole, but I do look down on them for boosting, and if they're brand new and it's their very first class and they haven't played through any of the story, they haven't played through any of the main quests, they haven't even got to their grand company yet, and then they boost, and then they proceed to shit on the game. They proceed to talk how bad it is, how terrible it is, like, oh my god, this is so horrible. I kind of have to say a little bit of that bad experience is more than likely of your own making if you boosted, and again, you didn't wait to boost a class till you got into at least a decent point in the story and through a decent amount of unlocks. You just boosted the character instantly in the hopes that you would get to skip everything and not have to go through Realm Reborn and not have to do certain quests and not have to do this, that, or the other. You just skip the content, which I'll never understand the logic of that. And when you just look at it from like in a box, when you're just talking about like, oh, I just don't want to level up the class because it's going to be frustrating. Well, in Final Fantasy XIV, when you boost, it's not like in World of Warcraft where all boosting is really it's just the level and it skips you to the latest expansion. In Final Fantasy XIV, when you boost, you still have to go through the entire main story quest of A Realm Reborn. You don't skip that. You don't get to the latest expansion. You're still required to do that. And thus, you're also still required to do the unlock quests that are included in that for your Grand Company, for My Little Chocobo, for you to mount up, which is another point about this I'll get into related to mounts. But it's just not wise to do for the boosting because, again, part of the experience, in my opinion, and part of getting to know your class, other than just the raw rotation and how the class functionally works, is a part of connecting to that class through its identity through the class story quest. So you're really doing yourself a disservice, and you're really hurting your experience in the game because you're removing one of the key aspects in the systems to get you to connect to the class. Because classes aren't just a rotation. They aren't just the analytical raw character archetype you're playing. They are in an identity in the game that you get to experience with their own story, with their own explanation that connects you to that class. And again, when you boost, you deprive yourself of that, and I really think that just hurts it, and new players are not going to understand this, especially if you're coming from WoW, where again, there isn't a class storyline like there is in Final Fantasy XIV. There isn't a storyline for shamans, there isn't a storyline for warriors, there isn't a storyline for all the classes in World of Warcraft like there is for FF. So when WoW players see the boosting system, all they're thinking is, oh, I get to skip the leveling process. They don't understand that they're also skipping a narrative experience that really would have connected them to that class. And again, it doesn't even serve to skip them to the latest content, because in FF, they're still required to go through the entire A Realm Reborn story quests. So you might as well do it from level 1 instead of doing it from level 70. It's just going to save you frustration, and again, it just doesn't work the same way as it does for WoW. It's honestly just a bad move overall. Alright, number two, the second thing that my friend did that also led to the initial frustration. What was actually the main thing that was aggravating him initially was the mount purchases. Now, he, on top of boosting his character, he also purchased a mount, and he was pretty angry, pretty upset that he couldn't mount up at all. Not just not in the main city, but he couldn't mount up outside of it because he hadn't realized that in FF there are the unlock quests, the blue quests with the plus mark in the lower corner of it. Those are used to unlock not just classes, but they're also used to unlock systems in the game, from dungeons and classes and, well, mounts and Grand Company stuff. They're a whole another aspect to the game, and it's actually something I really like, because in FF, everything is earned. You're not just given this stuff just because you reach a certain level tier. No, you actually go through its own little narrative to unlock things. And I think that, again, just like with the class quest I mentioned earlier with the boosting, it makes you more connected and makes you feel... It makes you feel like when you get these things that they're actually significant, like your first chocobo. Like when I was first starting leveling and I was like, oh, when I get my first mount, it's gonna be I'm gonna have to ride the chicken until I unlock an actual decent mount. But then when I went through, chose my Grand Company, I got my seals, and then I purchased the item I needed from my Grand Company to unlock the quest, My Little Chocobo, and then I got my Chocobo and got to name him. And the way it narratively introduced all that, not to mention the roadblock I had to go over to get to it, I actually felt more connected to this little chicken bird than I would have if the game had just been like, oh, you're level 20, oh, here's one real quick unlock, like you have to pay like 200 gil, and then boom, I get my mount, yay, walk away. It just makes you feel like you actually give a damn about your first mount and give a damn about all your first unlocks. So, yeah, in short, if you're buying a mount and you're angry as hell because you can't mount up, it's because just because you buy a mount doesn't mean you get to mount up. It's something you have to unlock along with many other things in the game through the initial narrative experience. You have to go through the process. Now, another thing my friend is doing that I don't suggest you do, but I kind of understand for some people that aren't like me, that don't enjoy the inherent narrative experience as they're going through A Realm Reborn and aren't really in the mood to take their time and consume the story as they go along at a careful pace and actually paying attention. Some people really just want to get to the latest dungeons, latest raids, and just don't care about the narrative at all, which I recommend everybody at least their first time through pay attention. But if you absolutely for some reason don't want to, I understand skipping dialogue. I'm not going to hark on this point too much, but I hazard it because it's not just about the narrative. There is some things in the game that are explained through the narrative, like Grand Companies, like the context for those and what their identity is. And if you just skip all the dialogue, you're going to be completely confused what the difference is between the Maelstrom, the Flames, and the Adder, and the Twin Adders. You're not going to really know identity-wise like how they differ, and you're not really going to connect with any. You'll just pick one at random. So I just hazard everybody, please don't skip all the dialogue. Like on the unlock quests, I kind of get it, but for the narrative main story quests, please, I recommend everybody take their time, read the story. Just I highly recommend it. That's all. And the final thing my friend did that I'm sorry, this one, if you do this and this is a source of frustration, and then you have like a million and one questions, you don't understand how the systems work, and you don't understand how certain things work. Honestly, if you don't read the tooltips, you know, that little green question mark that pops out in the middle of the screen when you're doing stuff, if you don't click on that and read it properly, and then then you're like kind of ranting and you're kind of like, I don't understand how any of the systems work, this is all confusing, the game is so terribly designed, this is so horrible, it doesn't explain anything to you. If you're not reading the tooltips, I have no sympathy. Like, I don't want to be a dick. I really don't, because these are mistakes I understand new players are really not going to know inherently that they have to do, and really, like, a lot of players are gonna be just intuitively, because I played other MMOs or other MMORPGs, I know I can, none of this has to be explained to me. FF is not like other MMOs. And I really think that, considering all MMOs and all games as a whole nowadays have some level of tutorial explanations and stuff, it's just wise as a gamer to read them. Even if you think they're going to include information that you already inherently know because you've played similar games, every game is its own unique experience. Even if it's got the same core identity and systems as another, doesn't mean there won't be some superficial level aspects that you are going to be different enough that they will heavily impact your enjoyment of the game if you don't understand how they work. So read the tooltips. It's really simple. Read the tooltips, and if you accidentally click on one and then cut it out, and then you really need to consult it later, if you go down to the lower corner menu and you go to active help, that lists all the tooltips that you'll need throughout the game to explain things to you. So at any point, if you're confused with the system, if you're not understanding how certain things work, you're not understanding how hotbars work, for example, if you're not understanding why certain systems aren't working, or why you're just not clicking with how the game works functionally, please consult the active help, in the menu. That will hopefully alleviate a good chunk of the system confusion. But anyway, that's kind of the whole video. It's not really a long video. I didn't intend this to be really draggy or anything, and I really just wanted to list these off real quick for new players who are having these frustrations, who might make these mistakes, and hopefully for players who haven't started FF yet, hopefully this video will help you guys avoid those same frustrations, because it really did bother me that my friend was upset, and I really hope he continues to give the game a shot and doesn't abandon it because I wasn't a good enough friend to warn him of these things before he jumped in. So, yeah, again, if you're new to the game, please don't boost. Don't buy mounts before you can even use them through the My Little Chocobo quest. Avoid skipping dialogue if you can. I understand if you do it for side quests and unlock quests, but for the main story quests, they just provide so much context and world building that it's just a significant part that I highly recommend that everybody just, if you can, don't skip. Like, just take your time with the story. And reading tooltips, read them, please. Like, they will help you avoid frustration. They will help you avoid really dumb frustration too. Just read the damn things. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below. If you have friends who are confused or might get frustrated or are considering getting into FF, please share this video with them. Hopefully it can help them avoid making some fundamental decisions that will hurt their experience before they even really give the game a proper shot. And in the comments, feel free to include veteran players, please. Feel free in the comment section below to include other tips. Who knows, if they get enough of them in the comments, I might make a whole nother video just from veterans perspective in the comments, you know, like, who knows. But anyway, my name is Asmogan. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye-bye. Remember to leave a like and subscribe.